For this case study, the chosen mentor text is Asta's Good Right Things, written by Kate Jordan. Asta's Good Right Things received the Children's Book of the Year for younger readers in 2021. The book is suited for older primary school students as it presents complex themes such as mental health, neglect, family, and friendship. A summary of the novel is about an 11-year-old girl called Asta who attends a school for gifted kids. Each day, Asta sets herself a goal where she must do a good, right thing, not to make herself feel better, but to make the people around her feel better. No one knows what her good, right thing is, and if she does not complete them, then she thinks everything will go wrong. This novel is a piece of high-quality literature. MacDonald regards quality literature where ideas are complex, enhances the imagination of the readers in addition to using inferential comprehension to make meaning. High-quality text demonstrate stylistic features including similes and metaphors in addition to literary elements such as symbolism, characterization, and themes. Using literary elements provokes creativity and grows an understanding of language and how it can be complex. High quality literature is considered when selecting a mentor text for a teaching sequence. MacDonald states a mentor text is a quality example of language and meaning connections which can be used as teaching points. For example, the teacher can use a mentor text to explore sentence structure, grammar, language devices, and elements. Model reading and writing skills can be demonstrated through utilising a mentor text to support students when it comes to writing their own literature. The importance of studying literature in primary education as part of the English curriculum is because students develop the skills to examine a piece of text by reading, viewing, and working with complex text. Literature allows interpretation and analysis of different texts, allow creativity, opportunities for reflecting the text, and view complex texts that have a range of different contexts within. This book specifically would suit Year 6 students. As you can see on screen, the achievement standards are highlighted, so it states students read, view, and comprehend the text, explain how language and visual features influence the audience, and how ideas are presented through using literary elements. This novel is an example of high-quality literature due to what was mentioned earlier with its complex themes. There are opportunities for students to relate to what the author is presenting. For example, the theme of friendship and how it can be hard to make friends, and for people to go to school where they do not feel seen or where they are seen, they get embarrassed, as Asta does in this paragraph on screen. In all, a high-quality literature text is a piece of text that can be revisited multiple times to develop a deeper understanding of the complex meanings, explore the themes mentioned, examine the literary elements and devices that are used, and how their usage impacts the text. For week 2, I'll be discussing the literary text types and literature context regarding the novel Asta's Good Right Things. MacDonald highlights text types and categories. Structural and grammatical conventions are used in a text to construe the different social purposes. MacDonald gives many examples of different realism genres and the conventions included. Regarding the mentor text, Asta's Good Right Things is an example of contemporary realism. MacDonald states contemporary realism by focusing on domains including family, school, and social issues that is set in our present world. Conventions of a contemporary realism text include presenting family relationships and friendships using everyday language or expressions, recognizable situations, or emotional conflict. In the first chapter, family relationships are presented with Asta mentioning her dad, and her dad calling her pedo, and she enjoys when he doesn't have to do any more work. The family structure is highlighted that Asta lives at home with her dad. Her aunt Noni comes and visits, but her mum has left because her mum wished that Asta was a normal child. Neglection is presented multiple times throughout the text, from Asta's mum in particular, because Asta's mum couldn't even take care of Asta, let alone herself. There was examples of her being mean to Asta, and this resulted in her leaving. Readers can make text of self-connections of these examples, as they might be living at home with a single parent and they might have that sense of neglection from the other parent. I know for myself as the reader, I felt empathetic towards Asta with living in a single parent family and not having the other parent around. Regarding context, Asta's Good Right Things is created in a social context. As mentioned with the contemporary conventions, social context looks at environments including families and communities that support the creation of the text. A theme that relates to social context is mental health. Asta highlights her anxiety as noise when she has overwhelming feelings and she finds it hard to manage it. the noise starts to come. She does not want anyone to fight her battle. She wants to do it independently. This is why Asta completing the good right things is important to her, because it's a coping mechanism for her anxiety. This relates to social context, as there are people in society where they have a mental health condition and they do not want to share it with anyone. They do not want to have the embarrassment of people knowing that they have an illness, and they just don't want to accept the help at times. However, Asta finds the strength and felt comfortable to share the battle of her anxiety to supporting character Xavier, who is also going through a battle of mental health. Through Asta and Xavier's many interactions, Asta felt a connection between her and Xavier, a heartstring, as she put it, rather than their souls connecting. This shows the importance of personal growth and being able to be yourself around the people in your life. This supports Asta working towards a better version of herself. For week 3, I'll be discussing responding to literature and examining literature with the text Asta's Good Right Things. Examining literature, as McDonald alludes to, is by identifying the literary elements in the text, which is being a code breaker when looking at the 4 resource model, in addition to being a text participant by describing how this element constructs meaning. Looking at character and characterization, the protagonist of the novel is Asta because, as McDonald describes, the protagonist is the character who drives the plot along. As readers, we read Asta's feelings, experiences, and thoughts. This is because Kate Gordon has the story narrated in first person. We hear and see everything from Asta's point of view and go through her experiences. As readers, we engage in the text by feeling empathetic towards Asta and grow a connection of closeness due to the use of first person narration. This also supports making text to self-connections with the protagonist and the events occurring in the novel. Another literary element to discuss is themes. As mentioned in week 1, this book has complex themes. This includes mental health, family, isolation, and neglect. MacDonald expressed theme as the central or significant message through using other literary elements, including character, setting, and plot. A significant message that can be taken away from this novel is everyone has something on. Asta is dealing with her social skills, her anxiety, and sense of neglection. Xavier, the supporting character, is dealing with depression, which is referred to as the black dog, which is an example of the stylistic technique metaphor. MacDonald states metaphors as when two fundamentally unlike things are indirectly compared as being the same. That is, one thing is another thing. The phrase, the black dog, is used instead of saying, I have depression. It is something that is always there and it will not go away. Students can also allude to another metaphor of never judge a book by its cover, as you never know what is happening in someone else's life. When anyone is reading a book, we use our repertoire to make sense of the text. This text allows students to use their personal repertoire to make meaning of the text through their own personal experiences. MacDonald states personal repertoire as words or phrases that might stimulate a memory for the reader. For me personally, the author does not state exactly where this novel is set, but I can hypothesize through using my personal repertoire it is set in contemporary times. An example where a student's personal repertoire is used is when Asta is crying and Annalise came over to support her, or when Xavier understood Asta needing to do her good right things and they bonded over that. This can stimulate a memory of importance of support networks in difficult times, how friendships are important to express how you feel, and you know that they'll be there to support you through the tough time. Responding to literature and examining literature is a great opportunity for the reader to make the deeper connections between the elements used through using a repertoire to support meaning making. For week 4, I have created a visual text in response to my chosen text, Asta's Good Right Things. Visual literacy is presented in the Year 6 curriculum as students create written or multimodal text with a significant purpose such as imaginative or informative purposes for the audience. According to the Australian curriculum, this is by using visual features such as placements, salience, shot size, or camera angles in a visual piece. I have used visual grammar, as MacDonald alludes to, as how elements of the image combine in different ways to present a visual meaning. I have looked at space, which connects the text structure and organisation of a visual text. If I was to split this image down the middle, I have purposely put some elements on the left-hand side of the image and some elements on the right-hand side. As when we are reading a text, as MacDonald states, information on the left-hand side is regarded as known information, and information on the right-hand side is newly introduced information. I have taken this concept, with placing the noise and the petals on the left-hand side of the image, as we know about this. These are things in Asta's life that she had to battle with. And on the right-hand side, there are dandelions and the black rabbit. This represents the new life that Asta is trying to live and the growth she is working on. Symbolism is demonstrated through the black rabbit. The black rabbit is a symbol for new beginnings. In addition, the noise has purposely been removed from the right-hand side of the visual text as she has gotten to a stage where the noise has gone away, which is highlighted on the last page. The visual text has many visual techniques to create meaning to the audience. Salience has been used by placing the young girl Asta as a silhouette, but as an eye-catching element of the page. The participant is the largest element on the page, surrounded by other elements and participants. The viewer would see the participant first, then go to the other elements around the page. This links into the concept offer, as Calo states it as no character is looking directly at the viewer, meaning the audience must choose to look at other elements around the page. I have done this on purpose for the audience to see how all the elements link back to the protagonist of the visual to make meaning. I've also chosen to go for a solid colour for the background instead of a mix of colours. The colour purple, as Calo alludes to, symbolises luxury, royalty or romance. However, the flower, Asta, symbolises patience, faith, love and wisdom, which are the emotions that are trying to be conveyed to the audience through the choice of the purple background. Finally, the choice of doing a long shot is for the audience to capture all the different elements that are represented in the image. For week 5, I have created a poem in response to my chosen text, Asta's Good Right Things. Now I'm going to read my poem I have created. The noise is loud like thunder, thump, crash, snap, crackle. It made me crouch under. Bang, bash, bam, boom. The noise is something that arrives. The noise is something that drives. It comes in uncertain waves. It fills my brain like a dark cave. Memories raise the impact of the noise. A tangle of knots represents the noise. Overwhelming thoughts and feelings are the noise. Good right thing helps stop the noise. I decided to go with a free verse poem structure. MacDonald states free verse poems where language choices are encouraged and sound patterns are presented through forms of figurative language, including onomatopoeia and alliteration. Looking at the first verse, a simile is utilised in the first line with the noise is loud like thunder. Using the word like in the sentence, according to MacDonald, supports and makes a comparison between two objects. So the noise in Asta's head is making the comparison that it is loud like thunder. Onomatopoeia is the second figurative language element used in the first verse. As MacDonald states, this is using words that represent the sound they are imitating. Having 2 lines of onomatopoeia emphasises how difficult it is for Asta when the noise appears in her head, like bam, bang, snap, crackle. In addition, imagery is highlighted throughout the entirety of the poem by using descriptive language to create an image in the reader's head, in addition to the use of figurative language elements. The line, "It makes me crouch under," emphasises how when the noise and the anxiety appears, Asta feels like she needs to go and hide to regulate her emotions. It makes her feel trapped with the battle she's dealing with, and she just wants to be at peace. In verse 2 and 3, repetition is utilised with the word noise. It is repeated on purpose for the audience to feel the effect of how scared Asta is, how her mind is acting through dealing with anxiety, and how the noise is always there. A simile is used again to make comparison in line 4 of verse 2, that her brain fills up with noise, and for the reader, they can imagine it to look like a dark cave. The final verse is about aspects that create and stop the noise. Memories of her mum starts to noise up again. Asta refers her anxiety as a metaphor by saying her noise is like a pile of tangled knots. And to finish the poem, the only thing that supports Asta's anxiety and is used as a coping mechanism is by completing her good right things.